So we are going to download Lua for Windows and we will check if it works on command line. So what we'll do is we will go to github.com and check for Lua for Windows. Now in releases tab I can see new version of Lua for Windows. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this installer, and after that I will simply go to the installer. Currently Lua version 5.4 is out, but we have this Windows version which is showing us 5.1, so we will stick with that for now. Now here we have to accept the agreement. Click on next. Here we have to choose the program files folders, so I'm going to choose for E drive. Click on next. Choose the modules that you want and then click next. Again click next and choose to add desktop shortcuts, and also if you want additional schemes, right? So again check that as well. Okay, currently I'm going to leave it as is. Click next and set for install by clicking on install button. Now you can choose to run a simple introduction to Lua, or you can simply click on finish. Okay, now you can open command prompt. Okay, now let's go to Lua-V, and here you see the version for Lua 5.1.5 and copyright information. If you see this, that means you have Lua installed on your Windows. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can create new Hello World project in Lua language. So go to lua.org and then go to downloads link, and depending on your operating system you'll find a way to install Lua on your operating system. In case of Windows, you have this project named Lua for Windows. In the releases tab you will find options to download Lua for Windows. Here you can see Lua for Windows exe that you can download and extract. Once you go through that installer, you can open your command prompt, and there you can type in Lua then space -v. Okay, that should trigger the message about Lua version. Okay, if you can see this, that means you have Lua installed on your operating system. Next we are going to open text editor such as Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text. In my case, as you can see, I have Sublime Text, and here I have created this sample.lua file. So the extension important here is .lua. You can name this anything you want, like sample.lua, example.lua. Okay, so in that directory I have already opened my command prompt. Now what we will do is we will simply type in print function, and then we will type in message like Lua for DevNami. Okay, now what we will do is we will simply run this and find out if it triggers any error or not. To execute that, what you can do is type in Lua then your file name. So in my case, sample.lua. Hit enter, and here you can see it outputs the print statement that we have, which is Lua for DevNami. So this was a simple demonstration on how you can execute a Lua program on your operating system. So we are using here command prompt and text editor such as Sublime Text. You can use Visual Studio Code, Notepad if you want. In Visual Studio Code you can also see this output in terminal, which is viewable from the editor itself. So you get the idea how to create new program in Lua and how to execute that on command prompt. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can use arithmetic operators in Lua language. So make sure to go to lua.org and download the Lua. Depending on your operating system, you may have to follow different instructions for installation. Okay, so as you can see, this one applies for Linux and Mac. Okay, and for Windows you may have to try out other instructions. Okay, in my case I prefer to follow Lua for Windows. Okay, so there are projects like Lua binaries, and also there is one GitHub repository that you can check out. Okay, so it should be there, Lua for Windows. Okay, here it is. So it's in RJP computing repository, Lua for Windows. As you can see, you can install this Windows version, and once you install, open command prompt and here type in Lua-v. That should show you the version of Lua. Next thing you can do is you can open text editors such as Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code or even Notepad. Okay, so here you can see I have created one project where I have file sample.lua. Now here what we're going to do is we are going to set few variables. Let's say A is 20, B 10. Okay, so when you assign values you use these equals to operator. So if you're coming from any other programming language, this should be obvious for you. And to print you use print function just like Python. And let's say if I want to do addition, so I'm going to use this, and after quote just use comma and type in A plus B. Okay, so we will open command prompt and clear it. Here I want to type in Lua, then sample.lua, and here you see addition is 30. Similarly, what we can do, we can also do subtraction. Okay, same way we use comma after the quotes and A minus B. So A dash E, here you notice plus sign for addition and this dash. Okay, then what we will do is we will run this again. Here you see addition 30, subtraction 10, which is correct. Similarly we can also do the multiplication. So we type in multiplication and here A and then this star operator B. Okay, if we execute this again we will get 200, which is correct. Okay, so make sure to also mind the space here. If it's too much space, can minimize that. Okay, now we'll also do division, or if you want we can also look for remainder. So let's go with division, and for that we will use A then / B. Okay, let's find out if it works. So let's type in Lua then space sample.lua, and here you see division shows 2, which is correct. Now what if I want to check for remainder? So we can type in print, then a remainder. Okay, now in case of remainder we use %, so a%b, and let's clear this again. We run the program. Okay, so something's missing. Okay, so we missed the comma. Okay, so let's clear it again and run, and here you see remainder 0, which is correct. So you learn how to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and also %sign for finding remainder. So you get the idea how to use arithmetic operators in Lua language. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can find data type of any particular variable in Lua language. So first thing, make sure that you have Lua installed. Go to lua.org, and in download page you have instruction to set up Lua for your operating system. In case of Windows, you have this Lua for Windows installer that you can use. As you can see here, you can use this exe, and once installed you can open command prompt and then type in Lua-v. That should show you the version installed on your system. Okay, after that open text editor such as Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text. In my case, as you can see, I have Sublime Text here, and I have created one file named sample.lua. Now here, first thing we are going to see is how to find the type of, say, a boolean value or variable. So we will use print to output our result, and here we are going to make use of type function, inside which I can type in true or false. Okay, so if I use true and print this out, and to run the code, what I will do is type in Lua space sample.lua. So sample.lua is our file here. Okay, so hit enter. Here you can see it found the type for true and false as boolean. Similarly, I can also find out type of, let's say, a string. So if I type in something like my name here, so if I go with that and run this code, you can see it is showing me as a string. Similarly, let's say if I go with some integer and float value, so number 12. Okay, so let's print this out. Here you can see it is showing as number. So what if it is a float value? So 12.65. Let's print it out. Okay, it still shows number. Okay, it is not showing us with differentiation as integer value or float. Okay, now similarly you can also go with nil type or null type. Let's go with nil. See what it shows. Okay, here you can see it shows nil back. Now what if I give you a function? So let's say if we give it a print function, so if we give it a print as a simple name, let's find out what it shows. and here you can see it tells me that print is a function. So when you are unsure of the data type in Lua language, you can use this type function and add your variable or variable values within it to find out which type of or which data type it has. So you get the idea how to find out data type in Lua language using type function. Okay, so we are going to take a look at how to use do while loop in Lua language. So first thing, go to lua.org and make sure to download Lua for your operating system. Now here you can see instructions for Linux and Mac. However, for Windows you can go to the this RJP computing repository where you have Lua for Windows, and go to the releases tab. Now here you can see Lua for Windows exe that you can download, and once you install it on Windows you can open command prompt and check the version available. So Lua-V, and here you see Lua version. Okay, if you can see this, that means you have managed to install Lua. Now next thing is open text editor such as Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code or Notepad, and here as you can see I have created sample.lua. So .lua is the extension that we need for executing Lua code. Next thing, we are going to, let's say, create one variable. Let's have some value 20. Now if I want to run my while loop, we have to set one condition. So let's go with conditions such as increase the value of a from 20 to 30. So it should run for 10 iteration also. So we type in while keyword, and within that we'll have value of a less than 30. Sorry, should be less than symbol. Okay, now below that we have do. Okay, then we have print, that prints out value of a. So we'll have some value here, so we will add comma a. Then we also have to increment this, so we will use a equals to a plus 1. Okay, now we have to come out of loop and type in end keyword. Now what we'll do is open command prompt, clear this, and then type in Lua sample.lua. Here you see the loop runs from 20 all the way to 38. So why 38 when I wanted to only have up to 30? So because I have typed in 39. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this again, and here you see it starts from 20 all the way to 29, and the moment it reaches this value 30, it will exit out of that loop and won't execute for value of a equals to 30. This was just one condition where you can have incremental values. Similarly, you can also have some other conditions where you can execute a particular code until that condition is met. Okay, so you get the idea how to run do while loop in Lua language. So let's take a look at how you can use for loop in Lua language. So what we're going to do is make sure that you have Lua installed on your operating system. In case of Windows, you can make use of Lua for Windows setup. Okay, so this is the setup I have used to install, and to verify installation you can type in Lua space then -v. that should show you the installed version. Now next thing, open text editors such as Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text or even Notepad+. Okay, now next thing, I have created one sample.lua file. Okay, so here as you can see, we are going to write our for loop code. So we are going to start with for keyword, then let's set variable I to value of 10. Okay, I want to reduce this value up to say 1, so I will use comma then 1, and to do that I need to reduce value by, let's say, -1. For each iteration I want to reduce to that value. Now let's use do keyword and print out value of I with each iteration, and then let's end this loop. Okay, so what we have done here is I have started with the value of, let's say, 10 and reducing it all the way down to 1, and with each iteration I am reducing the value with -1. If you want, you can do that with just a value like -2, -3, depending on how you wish to see. Okay, make sure if you are working with even numbers, go with even, and with odd, go with odd, just to bring the simplicity. Okay, so to execute this, open command prompt. Now here type in your Lua, then space, and then name of your file. So name of your file is here sample.lua. Hit enter, and here you can see it starts from value of 10 all the way to 1. Okay, so here we are decrementing our for loop. So if you want to increment, let's say from value of 1 all the way to the 10, then we will remove this dash sign, so it will start from 1 all the way to 10. Okay, so let's clear this again and execute it. So sample.lua, and here you can see it started from 1 all the way to value of 10. So you get the idea how to run your for loop for incrementing and decrementing values. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can use if statement in Lua language. So if you have not installed Lua, then go to lua.org and then click on downloads page to follow the instructions for installing Lua on your operating system. In case of Windows, you can make use of Lua for Windows, and you can search for this RGB computing repository on that. Okay, and after that you can download this installer and verify your installation by typing in Lua then -v. Okay, once you verify Lua is installed, what you can do is open text editors such as Notepad, or you can use Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code. Okay, in my case here you can see I have used Sublime Text and created one sample.lua file. Okay, now here I'm going to create one condition. I'm going to create a variable. Let's name this A and set some value to it, something like 20. Now I'm going to set condition using if keyword, and within bracket I'm going to set value for A as, let's say, less than 30. Then we are going to simply print out value A is small. Okay, now if you want to cascade this with else condition, you can do that, but I'm going to simply end this if here, and then I will come out and say end of if statement code. Okay, now what we can do here is we can simply open command prompt, go to Lua, then space, and sample.lua. Okay, here you can see it immediately replies us with our condition being true and a here is small. You can cascade this with else condition immediately out of this, and also at the end you can type your end of if statement code as well. Okay, so basically what we are doing here is we are using if keyword, and within bracket, as you can see, we are setting some conditions. This does not have to be just comparison, like something is bigger or greater. You can also use equals to symbol and compare it, or you can use it for accepting username and password and then redirect user to a particular page or routes depending on where you use Lua. Okay, so you get the idea when and not to use this specific if statement condition. So we are going to take a look at how to write function in Lua language. So what I'm going to cover here right now is how to define your function and how to call that or call within your any other function as well. So first thing that we are going to do is we are going to make sure that we have Lua installed on your operating system. So go to lua.org and then check out downloads page. Okay, when you check the page, you have instruction for Linux and also for Windows as well. So for Windows, you can make use of this RGP Computing's Lua for Windows setup that should have one exe which you can run and install Lua on Windows. Once you install that, what you can do is open command prompt, type in Lua then -v, and it should show you the version. If it does not show you the version, that means its bean path is missing in your environment variables that you need to check and rerun the installation. Okay, so assuming you have Lua installed, what you can do is you can open text editor such as Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code or Notepad. Now here you can see I have Sublime Text. I have created one sample.lua file. Now here we are going to write our function code. So for function, we are going to make use of keyword function. Then let's say we name it hello as its name, and when we hit enter, it should take us to another line with some tab space. Okay, now then we use print statement, something like, let's see, right? And after that, what we can do is we will just end the function, right? Okay, now save this, and then we have written our function. We need to also call it in order to see the output. Now open command prompt, type in Lua space sample.lua, and here you see that function gets called and it outputs the print statement. Okay, so this was your typical function that you will be using in Lua. There are also other ways you can use functions, like for sending some values, manipulating them and returning the values. So in such case, those functions would be functions with parameters or arguments passed to them. So we'll take a look at that later. Okay, we are going to take a look at how you can use function with arguments in Lua language. So first thing being, make sure that you have Lua installed. You can go to lua.org, then click on downloads page. Here you have instruction to install for Linux and Mac, as well as for Windows. You can make use of something like this, Lua for Windows. In RGP Computing repository, you will find this, and here you can see in releases tab you will have Lua for Windows exe, which you can download. And to verify you have installed this, you can simply go to command prompt, type in Lua, then space, then -v, and here you see you have this specific version 5.15 installed on your operating system. Now what you can do is you are going to open text editor such as Sublime Text, Visual Studio Code, or Notepad. Now after that, open that and create one file. Name this something like demo.lua or sample.lua. Okay, now here we will first create our function keyword, then let's name this hello, and let's see if I add 2 arguments to it, say number 1 and number 2. What I want to do with them is I want to return result with addition of number 1 and number 2, right? And we have to return result. Okay, and to end this specific function, use end keyword. Okay, and then we will use print statement. Let's say addition of 2 numbers, and we will send our function with 2 values. Let's say 2 plus 3. Okay, for that you separate those 2 numbers with comma. So let's go with something like 10 and 20. Okay, now to run this, what we can do is open command prompt, type in Lua, then space sample.lua. Now hit enter, and here you see addition of 2 numbers here is 30. So it looks correct. You can perform any other activity as well. You don't have to necessarily do addition here. You can do subtraction, or you do multiplication, or do any other operation of your choice depending on your program. Okay, so you get the idea how to create a function that has arguments and how to manipulate those arguments and return the result. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can use arrays in Lua language. So first thing, make sure that you have Lua installed, and for that go to lua.org, then click on downloads link, and here you'll find instructions for Mac and Linux. Also for Windows, I suggest making use of Lua for Windows, which is in RGB computing repository. Okay, so to verify if you have installed through this, you can simply go to command prompt and type in lua-v, and then you will see the version installed. Okay, now what you can do is you can open text editor such as Notepad, Sublime Text, or Visual Studio Code. Now what we're going to do is open, let's say, Sublime Text, and here I have created one sample.lua file. Okay, here we are going to write our array. So let's start from basic array declaration. So array equals to, and within curly bracket I'm going to write string array. So let's say value of it starts from 1, 2 and 3. Okay, it doesn't have to be string array, you can even use numbers 1 to 10 or whatever. Okay, now to iterate through this you can use for loop. So let's say I start from value of I equals to 0, then up to 3 because we have 3 values, and then what we can do is we can use do and then simply print array of value I, and then simply end the loop. Okay, now if I execute this, it should print these 3 values within array. So we will take a look at that by using command prompt. Now here I'm going to type in Lua, then space, then sample.lua. Okay, now here you may notice that it starts from nil. Okay, that could be one of the issues, but after that it goes through 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so you get the idea that how to create an array in Lua, also how to iterate through your string array. Okay, so we will also check with number array. So let's say value of 2, 4, 6 and 8. So there are total 4 values. So let's go with 4 starting from, let's say, 1. Now let's execute this. Lua sample.lua. Now you may notice that considering array index 0 is set to nil, I used value of I from 1, which is from this 2, 4, 6, 8, and that is in output as well. So in our last example of string array, you can see that nil value, which can be avoided simply using I value set to 1. So 1, 2 and 3. Okay, so you can go with value 1, 2 and 3 in case of that string array. So you get the idea how to create an array and how to iterate through them. Okay, so let's take a look at repeat until loop in Lua. So what we're going to do is we are going to make sure that we have Lua installed, and if you haven't installed it, go to lua.org, then go to downloads page where you can find Lua for your Linux, Mac and Windows. In case of Windows, I suggest going through Lua for Windows project where you can download the installer. Okay, so coming back to my installation, I can verify that by typing in Lua then space -v. Now if I can see this version, that means I have Lua installed. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open text editors such as Visual Studio Code or Sublime Text or even Notepad. Okay, so in my case, as you can see, I have Sublime Text here, and I have also created one sample.lua file. Okay, so here is where I'm going to write my code. So let's start with one variable. Let's name this a, give it value of 20. Now after that, what we can do is we can type in a keyword repeat. Okay, and we can print value of a. Okay, and here we are going to repeat doing this till a's value is incremented by 2. And how long we are supposed to do this? So we will have that condition until, okay, so here let's say a is less than, let's say, 10. Okay, so this is similar to do while loop in most other languages, where you set a condition and repeat your loop until that particular point. Here you can see we are using repeat, so this will be repeated till value of a is less than 10. Notice that in order to avoid long output, I have added a plus 2. Okay, you can use a plus 1 and increase the length of loop, or you can also do a plus 5. Okay, so in my case here we are going to use, let's say, 2 as initial value instead of 20, because we are incrementing all the way to 10. Okay, not subtracting, because here you can see in order to subtract, we need to have large value here, and instead of addition we have to do subtraction. So let's go with value of 2, and instead of subtraction we will go with addition. Okay, so value will be increased to 468 all the way to a is greater than 10. Okay, so I have just changed the condition here. Okay, so what will happen is value of a is equals to 2, and it will come into the loop. It will print that value 2, then it will become 4. Check the condition. Is it greater than 10? No. Then it will go to this again, type in 4, then a is equal to 4 plus 2, 6, then come back again over and over up to the point where it meets this condition. So let's go ahead, type in Lua, then sample.lua, and here you see value of a starts from 2 all the way to the 10. Now let's go ahead with that 20's condition. So we will use a is equal to 20, and let's say decrement to a minus 2, and also until condition showing a less than 10. So let's go with that as well. Let's execute, and here you see we start from 20 all the way to the 10. So you get the idea how to use repeat until loop in Lua language. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can read file in Lua language. So what we are going to do is we are going to visit lua.org and then click on downloads page, and here you can find version for Windows, Mac and Linux. Okay, so I have Windows and I'm going to verify Lua. Okay, so by typing Lua-V, okay, here you can see I have Lua 5.1.5. I installed this Lua using Lua for Windows project, which you can find on GitHub repository of RGB computing. Okay, so from there you can install this for Windows. Okay, and next thing you can do is you can open text editors such as Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code or Notepad. Okay, now I have created one file in sample.lua name, and I opened this project in Sublime Text. So here is where I'm going to write my code. And also before that, let me tell you about the file that I have. So I can open that in here. So this is sample.txt. As you can see, it contains only one line which I wish to read. Okay, let me add some space in exclamation mark here, because otherwise it will not be easily viewable, and I can save this and close the file. Okay, so first thing we are going to do is we are going to open the file in read mode, and then we are going to read the content of the file and then print those content as is, and finally we have to also close the file. So first thing, use local file, and we are going to use IO package, open, then name of the file, and considering it is in same directory, I don't have to give whole path, and I have to open it in read mode. Then I'm going to use one more, let's say content or contents, you can go with either one of that, then file read, and here we have to use star operator, read all, and then print content. Okay, so that content that we just read, we are going to print it. So use file and then finally close to close our file operation. Okay, so let's go through all this again. First thing, we are opening our file in read mode. So we create instance of io.open, and we give it our file path, and R for read mode, W for write, and RW for both read and write. Okay, so currently it is only read-only operation, so we are going to do that. And once we read the file, it should be stored in file value variable which has local instance. Then what we're going to do is we have to read this file, and then we have to make it sure we can process it for printing. So we hold that content in our content variable, and we are printing it and finally closing our file. Okay, so to verify if it works, let's open command prompt and type in Lua, then sample.lua, and here you see it immediately prints out my content of the file, which I can also verify from sample.txt, so which is DevNami Lua language tutorial. Same should be in output. Okay, so you get the idea how to open your file, read the file, copy the content of file and print it out on command prompt, and finally closing that file operation. Okay, so what we'll do is we will learn to write a file in Lua language. So first thing, make sure that you have Lua installed on your operating system. You can go to lua.org and click on downloads link. Here you can find option to download Lua for Windows, Mac or Linux. Okay, in case of Windows, I suggest making use of Lua for Windows, which you can find in GitHub repository of RJP Computing. Okay, from there you can download the installer and install Lua on your operating system. Okay, so to verify that, I can show you Lua space -v. Okay, here you can see the version 5.1.5. okay, now this was because I have downloaded that Lua for Windows and it has that specific version. Currently Lua is in 5.4.0, so the version is a bit behind that, but you get the stable version from them. If you can compile it on your own, you can go for it, but in my case I just went for the one that is available. So next thing, open text editor, be it anything like Visual Studio Code, Sublime Text or even Notepad. So here you can see I have created one project and I added one sample.lua file. Okay, so here let's start by first creating a file, adding some content into it, then closing that file, and then creating another instance where we are opening this file, reading it and printing that content, and again closing it. So let's start. Okay, so type in local file, and for this we are going to make use of IO class, io.open, and here let's say I type in demo.txt because I don't see any demo.txt within my project. So demo.txt. Now I'm going to open this file in write mode, so W, then we are going to use file write, and here I wish to write something like, let's say DevNami Lua language file operations. Okay, now this is the line I'm writing, and then I'm just closing that file. No further operations needed. Now this was a write operation for a file. Now what about reading this file and verifying that it actually works? So let's create another file and name this local file 2. Now IO open, here we have to open this in read mode. Okay, so we will use double quote R. Okay, so now we will have one more variable for content, and we will use file to read because we are opening already. So file 2 read. Okay, and here we are going to use star operator all, and then we will print content and then file to close. So let's go through this, and here we can see first we are creating a file named demo.txt. Then we are writing something using file write and then closing that file. In second instance, we are opening that file in read mode, then reading entire content. Okay, and after that we are printing that content and then closing the file to operation as well. So both these operations are closed at the end. Okay, so to verify that, open command prompt, type in Lua then space sample.lua. Okay, and here you see it created one file. Okay, and also one more thing is it is printing it out. Okay, so if you have project open, you can see demo.txt, and also in your output that file has read easily. So you get the idea how to write file in Lua language. Okay, so let's take a look at how you can install LuaRocks on Windows. So if you go to LuaRocks.org, you'll find that they have this get started section that takes you to this GitHub repository where they have linked to instruction of Windows installation, which you can check here. Now it asks you to simply download one zip file, and that should be enough to run LuaRocks. Okay, so this link will take you to this page where you can download LuaRocks for your Win32 or 64-bit edition, and it should look something like this. Okay, and when you open it, it should have this LuaRocks Windows 64 folder. Okay, inside it has LuaRocks, and LuaRocks admin has two applications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and move to a folder where I wish to add that. Okay, so let me rewrite the folder name and simply LuaRocks. Okay, inside which you have LuaRocks and LuaRocks admin. Okay, so let me copy this address. Now let's open environment variables. Okay, click on open. Okay, that should open one dialog box. Click on that environment variables tab, then go to path, click on edit, and by pressing in new, simply paste the path. Okay, now click on OK, again OK, and save it. Now what you can do is you can open your command prompt. Now go to any directory or drive, type in LuaRocks and see what comes out. If it shows a message specific to LuaRocks, that means you have LuaRocks installed on Windows. So what we have done so far is we went to LuaRocks website, then into GitHub where we have linked to this latest zip file for LuaRocks version. In my case it's 64-bit. Okay, now after extracting that content in a specific folder, I have copied that path and added into environment variables, and then checked whether it works by typing in LuaRocks from any directory. So once you add it in environment variables path variable, it can be accessible from any folder. So you get the idea how to install LuaRocks on Windows. So let's take a look at how you can install new modules using LuaRocks on Windows. So if you haven't installed LuaRocks, go to LuaRocks.org, click on this get started page. Okay, it should take you to this quick start point where you can find this installation instruction for Windows. Click on this link, and for Windows you can download this zip file from releases page. Okay, so once you download this zip file here, you can unzip it in a location where you can add that location to your system path. So as you can see, I have downloaded these two files from that zip file and also added this entire path in environment variables path variable. After that, what I can do is I can open command prompt and I can go to, let's say, a different directory where I can type in LuaRocks. Okay, and if it returns with some message like this, that means I have it installed. Now what you can do is, now let's see, if I want to install this module named rapid.json, I can open command prompt, type in LuaRocks, then install, and then type in rapid.json. Okay, that should start the process of installation, and if there are no results matching this particular query, okay, as you can see, I typed in JSON as is instead of JSON. Okay, so let's go ahead. Sorry for my typo. Okay, now here we have corrected it. Now hopefully it finds the right package this time. Okay, so this is the package. I also copy this from here, but I didn't. Instead I typed in. Okay, so here most of these errors are specific to Linux, considering CMake is not present, so I have to download that Cygwin and make sure to have CMake for Windows, then this package will be installable. So you get the idea, some of the packages which are Windows specific that can be installed instead. So make sure to check dependency, and also you can see the list, dependency 4, and also it depends on 5.1 of Lua. Okay, so operating system specific is not mentioned here, but you can see CMake is possible on Windows only if you install Cygwin or MingW installer. Okay, so we have to go through that in order for rapid.json to work, but you get the idea how to install LuaRocks and also how to install modules using LuaRocks.